Hello, my name is Sharik Torres and I'm a developer advocate at Lob. Today I will go over some tips you can use to make sure your PDFs are print ready and able to be used by Lob for automated mailing. When you use a regular printer, many times you as a designer don't have to make these changes. These are done by the printer or in some cases not needed at all. But when using the power of automated mailing, there will have to be some adjustment made up front to make sure Lob's print system can handle your creative and you'll be able to send the piece through the mail. We'll go over some of these tips today and how to do them using Adobe InDesign. Aside from making sure your color profile is correct, this is one of the most important aspects of making your creative print ready. If your fonts are not correctly embedded, the printer won't be able to print the text. To embed your fonts, you will need to go to the File menu and select Export. From here, let's select High Quality Print as the Adobe PDF preset. Let's also select PDF X 1A 2003 as the standard. If you click on the Advanced tab in the sidebar menu, you will see a message that says all fonts with appropriate embedding bits will be embedded. Now let's hit Export. If you have all of the appropriate font licenses, then you will have no problem. In our example here, we are using a custom TrueType font that resembles the font used for Star Wars. As you can see, this font wasn't able to be embedded. So I'm going to show you another way to make sure your fonts are included in the PDF. You can use fonts that are unable to be embedded due to licensing issues by turning your font into an outline. Simply select the text, go to the Type menu and select Create Outlines. This turns the text into custom shapes and saves the color field information. Now this is something that we want to use sparingly. For example, if I had a lot of body text in the blue space, I would either want to change the font to something I had the license for or embed a subset of that font. Making an outline of a font that is heavily used in the PDF will result in a higher file size, which is something that Lob has a hard limit on. I'll talk more about that later. But for now, let's go ahead and export our PDF. The second tip I want to talk about is how you handle images in your creative. Print demands a much higher resolution than the web, so it's important that you make sure that all images that are used in the creative meet this standard. You also need to make sure that the images use a CMYK color profile. Let's see how we can make this happen. So we're going to start off here. We have our Star Wars themed postcard. Here we have a picture of Baby Yoda that is around 3 inches high and 3 inches wide. And we're going to open that same file in Photoshop and check the resolution. As you can see, this is 72 dpi. This is something that I downloaded from the internet. Most images that you see on the internet are going to be around 72 dpi because it saves on size and makes the website load faster. So let's alter this photo and make it 300 dpi. We can change the resolution of the photo by going to Image, Image Size. And from this modal, we can change the resolution. Notice that when we change the resolution, the size of the image increased. This is bad. This means that the picture will be slightly blurry in the final print job. A good rule of thumb is to make sure that the new file size is the same or less than the original to not lose quality. Now that we have the resolution set, we want to make sure this is in CMYK color profile and that we're using Grayscale 2013 or 2006. We can do this by going to Edit, Convert to Color Profile. The destination space should be Gray Coal 2006 or 2013. We'll push OK. And then the last thing we need to do is make sure the image mode is in CMYK. So we'll do image mode, and we see CMYK is clicked. So we're good there. Now we're ready to save our picture and import it into InDesign. Okay, so we've imported our new adjusted image, and you can see we've had to adjust the design a little bit to make up for the size because the picture is smaller. But we've made our adjustments and it looks good. So we need to also make sure that the InDesign file is set to the correct CMYK color profile. And you can do this under File and Export. If you go to the output on the side right here, you can see the destination space. We want this to be Gray Coal 2006. Now we're ready to export this PDF, confident that we won't see any weird color issues with the final printed material. The next thing we want to do is flatten the transparencies. If we don't do this, the final printed material will render anything with the transparency as a solid white square. Like, it just won't show up. The PDF standard we're outputting to doesn't support it. So we're going to go to File, then Export. We're going to go to Advanced. We're going to make sure the transparency flattener is set to high resolution to make sure we flatten everything possible. We also want to make sure that the Ignore Spread Overrides is checked. Now you're ready to export this PDF. The last thing we need to do is make sure that the file size of our creative is less than 5 megabytes. We want to keep the file sizes as small as possible for the creatives because the Labs API is sending these files to printers across the nation. If you have a large image for the background of a creative, it would be better to either recreate the background as a series of smaller images and fill in the other elements of InDesign shapes, or adjust the file size as we did earlier in Photoshop, making note to adjust the width and height to something that fits your design. And you can see examples of this here. Now that we imported our new photo, this is the extent of this photo. We use it as it's a small photo, so we use it as a small part of the design. Now our background is much larger. You see the orange box here indicates how big it is. Now this can be recreated in InDesign. This dark gradient here from light to dark blue, this can be recreated in InDesign. This part right here is already an InDesign shape, so that's good. So the only part that really needs to be an image is this ribbon and the resultant background right there with the stars and the gradient going from light to dark. And we can really cut down on the file size if we made those adjustments. But those are adjustments that you have to make in Photoshop and in InDesign, like I said. If you happen to have access to Adobe Acrobat Pro, you can use the Preflight feature to run a diagnostic on the output PDF to make sure that it fits into the PDF X1A 2003 standard. So here we have a PDF that we've already generated. I'm going to go to Edit, Preflight. From here, you can generate a report, or you can have Acrobat analyze and fix any technical issues that come up. Make sure to select PDF X1A Gray Call 2006 as the standard, which we have. Then select Analyze and Fix to generate a new PDF with any issues corrected. We're going to save this as front fixed. This will save your new PDF, and you can be sure that any technical issues were addressed. Congratulations, we are ready to send this to live to print. I hope this video helped you understand some of the things that are needed to make a print-ready creative for live. To recap, you need to embed your fonts, make sure the color profile of your PDF and images are CMYK using the Gray Code 2006 standard, flatten transparencies, and make sure that your file size is under 5 megabytes. If you follow these tips, you won't have anything to worry about with print errors showing up in your mailings. As always, I'm Sharik Torres, and I'll see you around the internet.